This centre is very exciting for us, as it's our first one out of South Africa, and it really paves the way for our journey into the rest of the continent. But before I get more into TB and what makes us unique and why we are growing into the rest of the continent, I'd like to introduce you to Jess Cleveland, Group Managing Director of Roll for East Africa and Indian Ocean. She's going to talk a bit about the property market and then we'll take it from there. Jess, would you like to come chat?
Thanks, David, and thanks for the invitation to speak tonight. As you said, I'm Jess Cleveland. I'm the Group Managing Director for Roll for East Africa and Indian Ocean. So we operate all across Africa. We do have an office here in Mauritius. We're just up the road, actually. And what we do is we provide property services to in the form of valuations, broking, leasing, sales, corporate real estate, to both investors and users of property. And it's the services to users of property that I really want to focus on tonight. We're also affiliated to Cushman & Wakefield, who's a leading global property company. And through that, we integrate into a network of, 700 offices in over 40 countries around the world, and literally hundreds of corporates. And these are companies who use property to carry out their business. So banking institutions, insurance companies, telecommunications, oil and gas, FMCG, covering a range of sectors. And it's through working with these clients on developing their real estate strategies, doing things like developing cost savings and unlocking value for them, that we've really had a front row seat into what companies are looking for in their office space. And it's this evolution, the story of evolution that I want to tell you about tonight. Obviously not the story of evolution, I've only been given 10 minutes to talk, but the evolution of corporate office space. So if we think back a decade or two ago, what did a typical corporate office look like? It was closed cellular offices, it was inefficient, it was long-term structured leases, escalations every year, very inflexible, very inefficient, but hey, that's what worked and there was no real motivation to change it. Then of course the global financial crisis hit and suddenly we saw this unprecedented focus on the costs. And for most companies, your people are your number one cost, and your number two cost is usually your real estate. So a lot of companies realised very quickly that they could save money by focusing on their real estate. And they also realised that if you take away all of these cellular offices, make everything open plan, you can fit a lot more people into the same amount of space or a smaller amount of space. So it became much more efficient, but at the same time it was still a one-size-fits-all strategy for most companies. And then people realised that as much as the idea that this would help with productivity was there, it wasn't actually what was happening in real life. So what enabled the next change in this evolution was technology. The fact that you were no longer, you had to be dedicated to a desk. There was none of this one-to-one. You had laptops instead of desktops. You had cell phones instead of plugged-in phones. You had Wi-Fi instead of cabling. And so this enabled a change to the type of workspaces that companies use that actually match the roles that people use in their day-to-day jobs. And so what this means is that it's, as I said, not a one-size-fits-all solution. There's different types of workspace environments, whether it's collaborative space, touch-down, hot desks, fixed desks, that sort of thing. But at the same time, it was still, for most companies, structured around their own corporate leases, or leases of real estate. Solutions like co-working, flexible space were seen as sort of a short-term solution to a short-term problem. Maybe you had a division moving from another city, maybe you had a short-term fluctuation in headcount. But that's all now changing. So what we're seeing in a lot of multinational corporates is that they're recognising the benefits of spaces like co-working, flexible spaces, memberships for hot desking, and having a network of touchdown spaces for their staff. And so what they're doing is they're actually building this into their medium to long-term real estate strategy. It's no longer just a short-term solution. So, for instance, a company might be looking for 2,500 square metres of space. They might take 2,000 square metres themselves, but then co-located in the building, they want to see the other 500, say, square metres provided by a co-working or flexible office space solution. And the benefits here are obvious. It allows them to absorb short-term fluctuations in their headcount. It allows them to provide amenities to their staff, so things like coffee bars, different types of workspaces. It gives them access to facilities without having to build these into their own leases. So access to meeting rooms, trainings, event spaces can be done on a pay-as-you-use rather than having to have it 24/7 and be paid for 24/7. And obviously the appeal of not having to fit out the space yourself is also quite appealing. And of course now the changes in the accounting policies with IFRS 16 in terms of the way that your leases are treated on the balance sheet is also influencing those sorts of decisions. So we've seen the rise in the use of co-working and flexible office spaces. And that's why I think that having something like the Business Exchange in Mauritius is a very welcome addition to the market. So congratulations to David and the team, and we welcome you to Mauritius.
I'm Nusrat. I work upstairs on the 6th floor of this building. I'm from Korea. We are present in 18 countries with 1,200 people, and in Mauritius we have 370 people here. In this building we have 5 floors here. And our core business is advice on corporate structuring in order to create value for the shareholder and also for the enterprise. So why Mauritius has become a hub for Africa? Why so many people are here? Why do we have 340 people here? Reason being that, a bit of background on Mauritius, we got independence in 1968. And the country was 70% of its economy was based on agribusiness. And today, the country is fully diversified with the agribusiness. For the Mauritians, you know, those who are not here, just it contributes to 3.5 of the GDP of the country. So we've been diversified a lot. 70%, more than 70% of the economy is really on services. Right, and reason why investors choose to use Mauritius, there are many reasons why. One first thing is that the political stability of the country. Since independence, we've changed government, right, but it has been really politically stable. We have elections every 5 years. We are not happy with the government, we change it. Right, and so it's really a democratic election here. And also the government has created really the environment to attract investors here. Right, it has created the ecosystem here really for investors to come in. One thing is, politically stable is one thing. Other thing is that you don't have any exchange control in Mauritius, so you can move money in and out of the jurisdiction very easily. You know when you're doing business, if you need to wait for approval for 6 months for you to move your money, how difficult it is for you to run the business, right? We have a very good legal system which works perfectly well, and we have many international lawyers here. We have very good banking system, right? We have a number of domestic and international banks over here. We have a very good, I would say, tax system which is very efficient. Everyone pays 15% tax. Very often you will hear that Mauritius is a tax haven. That's not true. Everyone has to pay its tax. You have to pay. I pay 15%, our company pay 15%, everyone has to pay 15%. Of course, you have certain exemptions, for example, for investment holding company, for dividend income, because you have already been taxed in your country. If you have paid tax more than 15% when you receive the dividend income in Mauritius, you don't pay any further tax here. So also we have, you go to Mauritius if you want to do hanky-panky business. Mauritius is not the place for you to come, right? Here you run your business really with proper corporate governance. You have to declare what is the source of funds you're bringing in here. You can't hide anything. Mauritius adhere to all the international norms. We have signed into FATCA and CRS. You can't hide your money but you hear the press, it's really not true. Right? Whenever we onboard a client, we ask the client, where is your source of funds? How you have made your money? How you have made your wealth? Even if the client is investing only $10,000 in Mauritius, you need to know what is the source of wealth of that person. So Mauritius really adheres to international norms. You want to come here in Mauritius, you have to have good corporate governance. There is no way you can do otherwise, right? We have proper anti-money laundering laws in Mauritius. We have no choice. If you want to be an international financial center of good repute, you have to adhere to these norms, right? So Mauritius has become the financial services center for Africa. And as of 30th June 2018, there's around $35 billion that has been invested in Africa. So really we're trying to build that ecosystem to attract investors to come in and to use the Mauritius infrastructure to reinvest back into Africa. We don't want to steal the money of Africa, because if you are doing business in Africa, you have to pay your tax, right? You can't do otherwise. And Mauritius is putting a lot of importance on substance. So you can't use Mauritius and not have proper office who don't have substance. So I think what Business Exchange is doing is excellent, because we have a number of clients which is using their premises, and that's what government is trying to do, attract people like Business Exchange to provide the infrastructure that you need to set up your business here. It's very easy to set up a company here. Of course, you need to provide all your KYC documents. Within 3 weeks, your company can be set up and you can start operating, and you just plug and play here over here. Thank you.
Good evening to you all. Thank you for inviting me. I'm not quite sure whether I have the expertise to talk about offices of the future and flexibility of workplace and so on. But what I know is, well, first of all, congratulations, because I've just had a glimpse of the facilities and they're all extremely appealing and probably respond to today's needs of office space as we'd like to know them today. But I mean, maybe we could have a bit of a thought-provoking aspects of why we want to run away from traditional offices and get into more sophisticated and probably more and more meaningful space today. I've just put a few points together and see whether you can relate to them if you work in a traditional or open space type office or whatever, really from people's perspective. I think what we see today in spaces, in communities, we see a lot of, we talk about coexistence, but from my point of view is more paradoxes. We have a number of subtleties within those paradoxes, which are not revealed by surveys. You know, the great fashion of the moment is engagement survey. I don't know whether you come across, we all go for engagement survey. It would probably die out in a few years. We used to have employee perception surveys, and then it's been rebranded. We still do things that will reveal what we know already, but it helps to provide consultants with a living. I think one of the paradoxes that we come across is the dichotomy between strategy, which is about vision, I understand, and self-inflicted blindness. We want to see a number of things so that we can grab opportunities according to trends and so on, and at the same time we refuse diversity. We don't have many women on boards, as you know. I mean, a recent survey revealed that we only have, 8% of women on boards, which is a bit of a shame. And yet, women constitute 50% of the market. I haven't come across a board with a millennial as a board member. And we know that millennials constitute 20% of the market. So why do we insist on being blind about things which would constitute strategic opportunities for us? And then you have this paradox of collaboration and competition within the company. So we talk about collaboration. You mentioned that earlier. Collaborative space, so we encourage collaboration. And at the same time, we would do a number of things which would more encourage competition within the same space, the organization. So people struggling, they tend to be a bit confused. What are you really looking for? Collaboration or competition? And then we would sort of get closed into what we call silos. But obviously, not in your cases. We're talking about the others. And then we are very much connected. We call it, I think, interconnectedness. And at the same time, there is a huge disconnect between the executive and those who make things happen. Everything is done to, unfortunately, from my observation, no empirical evidence, but everything is being done to enhance that disconnect more and more, and it's a bit sad. Another fashionable term, talent. The war for talent scarcity, talent this, talent that, and then some organizations would go and sort of create a talent pool. And that's all very good. I think I like the idea of talent pool. The only thing is, what do you do with the others? And how do you call the others? With maybe then non-talented resources? I'm not sure. I'm just asking the question very innocently. Obviously insisting that it's not your case. And I see also the coexistence between digitalization, that's another thing. We digitalize a lot of things for efficiency, for cost management, and so on. And we stick to archaic and, no, I think it's more, it's vintage. Let's call it vintage to be polite. Vintage organizational structures. Digitalization within vintage organizational structures. Interesting. Think about it. That's what we see today. We don't touch structures because it would disturb status. It would disturb what we have acquired and what we have worked for. But we still digitalize. I don't know how it works, but it surely in a few years' time we'll understand. And we talk a lot about ethics, obviously. I mean, Nusrat insisted on that. good governance, ethics, transparency, and so on. And despite all the efforts that's being made, we still see, we still come across a number of companies having facilitation fees in their books. Do you know what facilitation fees are? It's not on Google. It's more subtle than that. The other day, somebody was talking about one of the main dimensions of leadership being trust, and I agree with that. I think, again, in business community, space, office, then there should be a lot of trust. So we go to seminars about trust, we organize workshops about trust, we put it in our values, trust, and then we put cameras all around the place. And the last thing I would like to share with you is another term which today constitutes business fashion is empowerment. Again, I think that's an extremely important aspect of business, how to empower your people, empower your frontliners, and so on. And at the same time, we create centers of excellence. So you create opportunities for people to be empowered, and you create centers of expertise where you disempower them, because those are centers of expertise which you are supposed not to have. How can you be empowered without expertise if the expertise sort of lies in other spaces and other areas? So I would just like to leave you with those thoughts, hoping that I haven't disturbed or provoked anyone. Again, congratulations to TBE. I think this is an extremely nice project and initiative. All the best to you. Welcome to Mauritius. And have a nice evening, all of you. Thank you for listening.
I think that's about it. Just enjoy yourself. If you want to tour, please chat to the ladies, as I mentioned. Hang around, some snacks and drinks will be served now. And please enjoy the evening. Thank you.